Back to Select Burial Insurance TV. My name is Ron, and I am your host today. Today, we're going to be discussing and going through the three types of burial insurance. And for those of you, just to make sure we get this out of the way, we're thinking, I know what final expense insurance is. Is that the same? Burial insurance and final expense insurance are one and the same. People just call it by different names. And that is just a pretty common question that some people have. Before we get started, it's important to get through some disclosures. This is a piece of education. It is not meant to be a solicitation to sell or an offer to buy. Rather, it's material meant to educate and inform. So if you do have questions, please feel free to share in the comments below, in the video below. We try to engage, we try to answer back, and we're doing our best to provide some value. Now, let's jump right into this. Okay, so today we're going to be focusing on the three types of burial insurance. All right, here we go. Okay, so before you could actually get into the three types of the burial insurance programs, right, you have to first understand that this whole industry starts with the individual, not with the insurance, right? So depending on where the applicant falls in these three-tier level that we're going to discuss right now, that is going to determine what type of burial insurance may work or may be good for you, or may be a good match for you. Okay, so the first tier, now all of that is based on a health profile, right? When you're talking with an insurance professional, they're going to try to determine a few things in the beginning of the conversation. And at Select Burial Insurance, we are an independent insurance agency, which means we don't sell just one plan for one company. That is called a captive agent. We are independent. We scour the United States and we go through the various different insurance plans that are out there, and we'll compare your profile between 300 different burial insurance programs that we have access to. So that's an important thing to know. So the first thing that you're going to do is, before you even discuss money, some people jump right into it and say, okay, what is this going to cost me? And any agent who answers that question is not being truthful, because before you can understand the person and what they're looking for and what they're looking to accomplish and who they are, you can't really give anybody numbers. And that's, for some reason, a need that some people have, because they don't want to be draying on with somebody for a long time and getting pulled into an hour, 2-hour conversation. I find that when people are open to sharing, we're here to serve and you're here to get something. We could probably figure something out, usually within 20 to 30 minutes, all told, including the application. And in some cases, we could actually have the policy in force at that point, which is pretty wild. Okay, so there are three different types of insurance. And the first tier of insurance burial plans are for the individuals who meet the age criteria, right? You have to be between a certain age group. Every insurance, company basically falls into a similar category, right? You're not going to have a 20-year-old getting burial insurance. It's just not going to work. So it's usually above the age of 50. And if somebody has a disability, that could be above the age of 40. But for the most part, anybody who falls into the first tier is going to be somebody who has good health, or somebody who may have some mild health conditions. Okay, and the second tier is for the person who has mild health conditions, and the word mild is very broad. This is the most broad part. Tier 1 is a little more specific. Tier 3 is very specific. And Tier 2 is very broad in the sense that it covers a lot of people. And also there are various different insurance companies that will treat certain conditions differently. So if you have condition A by this company, they'll say, okay, you have to be in Tier 2, and that's what we're going to offer you. But even though, well, we'll get into some specifics. I don't want to kind of get you going here. So, and the third tier is for those individuals who have a pretty complicated health and medical type of situation profile, right? And probably this person was turned down in the past for life insurance. And we've got great answers for you because there are 3 tiers, because there are 3 different categories of individuals that are applying for burial insurance. Now, everybody deserves to get burial insurance. And so that's for the consumer. On the insurance side of it, those companies have to figure out, okay, how much liability am I taking on? How much risk am I taking on by having this person? So a person with good health can lock in at a much better rate than a person who has really poor health. They'll offer you something. It may not be what you necessarily thought you were going to get in the amount or in the price. But let's get that. We'll get to that in just a little bit. Okay. So the first tier, again, is for individuals who have are in good health and mild health or medical history. So that person may have gone to the doctor, and the doctor will give them a clean bill of health. Okay. Or it may be somebody who went to their annual, and their doctor is looking at the lab work, and they're saying, okay, this column shows the results of your blood work. The second column shows the averages, or it may show the limit or the danger zone. Okay, and here you are. Look at these 3 things. You need to be careful. You need to start cutting out cheese or things with cholesterol. You need to cut down on your carb intake, have one less donut a day. So that may be this person's profile, or it may be somebody who already crossed that line and have the beginning of diabetes. Depends on how they're treating it, or they have high blood pressure. Again, something which is under control and is manageable. Okay, that profile of a person, and this is just the medical profile, right? That person could fit into Tier 1. Usually when we go through this, and other insurance specialists that we know, you could pretty much determine what tier somebody's going to be into within 5 minutes. There are some basic questions, yes or no questions. And as long as somebody's truthful and straightforward about what their situation is like and what kind of medications they're on, or what type of therapies they're getting, whether they're on a CPAP machine or not, and stuff like that. So as long as you're straightforward, we could determine that pretty quickly. Okay, so that's this first tier. The second tier is somebody who has mild health conditions. Now, this is very broad because this starts on the one side with the person who is just starting out with more that, starting out with, let's say, certain conditions that may be somebody who had a stroke, somebody who had a heart attack, a midi heart attack, somebody who had their artery blocked and they needed to have a stent put in, somebody who's on not one medication but 4 medications, right? They have diabetes, they have high blood pressure, they have cholesterol, and they have a respiratory issue. Now, the reason why this is so broad is because the various different insurance companies will treat things very differently, right? There's one insurance company, without naming any specific names, There's one insurance company that is really okay with somebody having diabetes. Diabetes will not be an issue at all. That person may not even fall into tier 2. That person would fall into tier 1. And then there's another company who we all know that smokers pay more, right? So it will be considered a tobacco price, kind of, profile. There's one company out there that, you smoke a cigar, you smoke whatever it is that you have, as long as it's not actual cigarettes, they don't consider you a smoker. They'll give you the non-tobacco price, which is much better. So what you're looking for when you're working with a professional, a burial specialist, is you want this individual to understand where you are and to be able to apply your profile to what exists out there. Okay? So, which means you have to know about medical conditions and you have to know the sensitivities of various different insurance companies. And there may be a time where you'll speak to somebody they'll tell you, listen, you are eligible for this plan, but it's likely you won't get it. And if you go with this option, you can't lose. You're going to get it. It's going to be a couple of bucks more, but you won't have to jump through hoops a second time and you won't have to go through rejection or frustration. It's your call. And you may have some people that will say, you know what? The difference is not so big. I'd rather go with option B, and it comes with some extra bells and whistles. Or I'd rather give it a shot with option A. And I know it's not on you, Mr. Burial Insurance person. I know that, and because you told me about this, I'm not going to be annoyed at you. We have to do this again. I'm okay, but I'd rather try to save a few bucks. So, but this is a very broad area. Okay. And the third tier is somebody who has severe health conditions. Somebody who has cancer, somebody who has active cancer, dementia, and or a combination of things, right? It's somebody who may have diabetes and COPD, somebody who has a CPAP machine and they have, high cholesterol. There are a whole host of things that in combination, if this person went to get regular life insurance, they may get turned down, or this person may have gotten turned down in the past. All right, so let's see. So those are the three profiles. You have tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. Okay, so the health conditions group. Okay, here you got. So if the individual falls into tier 1, they're going to get level burial plans offered to them. Somebody in tier 2 is going to have modified or graded burial insurance plans available to them. And somebody in tier 3, because they cannot get tier 1 and tier 2, their only option is getting the guaranteed issue. Okay. So, all right. So level burial insurance. Let's go into each one. Level is the most economical of all of the burial insurance options. And with this burial insurance, when it comes to level, you could actually get same date full coverage. And what I mean full coverage is I can have a conversation with somebody over the phone, and by the time we're done 20 minutes later or a half hour later, they have a completed application. They actually have the policy, and they're 100% covered as of right now. Okay, and that is possible. Not everybody's eligible for this type of coverage, and depending if it's the weekend or the type of plan, you may have to wait till the next day or the first business day, depending on the plan that it makes the most sense for you. But essentially, there is no waiting. There is no waiting for level. And the reason for that is pretty practical, right? This is the type of business that the insurance companies want on their books. Okay. you help them by coming to them. So they essentially are fighting for your business by offering a more economical option, right? A more affordable option. So that is level burial insurance. The second tier we know is going to be getting something called graded or modified burial insurance. Now, it is there are plenty of options, and this option usually costs a little more than the level, usually more than the first group. Okay, now you could get a policy in place the same day, and by us at Select Burial Insurance, you can even get that at the end of the conversation in most cases, after our 20-minute, 30-minute. Some it could be longer, but it's usually somewhere between 20 to 30 minutes. It's possible to get a policy already in place, but not 100%. So it's same day coverage, but it's not 100%. And I'm going to explain what that means. Okay. Now there are two sides to your coverage. Okay. There is accidental and then the non-accidental. Okay. The non-accidental usually has to do with your health condition, right? So it's a person who has heart issues. It's a person who has cancer. Okay. And so that's on one side. And on the other side, you have accidents. So in graded and modified burial insurance, if somebody got this policy right now, today, and an hour later, they got hit by a car and they were in a car accident, this policy would pay 100%. However, when it comes to the health conditions, when it comes to the non-accident death, okay, the insurance companies have a graded type of setup. So what that means is that in year one, and again, every insurance company has a different type of percentage. If somebody got a graded policy and they're within their first year of getting that policy, and they died from a non-accident, okay, they would get the premium back. So if they paid, $500 or $1,000 that year, they would get that money back. Plus, they would get a percentage back of that premium. So some companies offer, let's say, 10% or 20%. So if you paid, $1,000 in year one, you'd get $1,000 back plus $100 if that was 10%. And in year two, if that person died from a non-accidental death, again, that person would receive the premium that they paid. So let's say they paid for 2 years, they'd get $1,000 for each one of the years. That's $2,000. And the percentage is a little higher the second year. So let's say it's 50%. So you paid out $2,000 over the last 2 years, you'd get 50%. So that's $1,000. So the insurance company would give you $3,000, right? The grade keeps going up. It's another step. And by year three, and some it's the beginning of year three, some it's the end of year three, the policy would be 100% in force, regardless of how you die, okay? Whether you die from accidental or non-accidental death. So it's usually the first 2 years that becomes kind of like a waiting game for somebody, but you may not have an option, because if you're not eligible for level insurance and you need to get yourself coverage for financial security and peace of mind, get it and wait and hope that you will be able to take care of your family. Worst case scenario, if you do die within the first 2 years, you know that you haven't lost any money because your family's going to get that money back. Okay. But you have no other choice. So I get concerned and frustrated at myself, not at the person, but more for the person, on the rare occasion that the person says, really, I got to wait 2 years. It's not the plan I'm looking for. And, but that's what it is. And inevitably, I would say in almost every case, unless the person's embarrassed or they found somebody else who's going to give them graded and modified, usually not at a better rate because we have outstanding rates. They usually come back. They usually call back and say, you know what? We tried, we looked into it, and no one else has this, and you were really great. You really took the time. We want to give you the business. And that's great because that's the greatest compliment that you can give anybody that you're working with is a referral. And not the cheesy referrals where the person says, okay, give me a list of some of your friends so I can call them and bother them. No, it's you going out and being a raving fan and saying, listen, this person really did right by me. And I want to, let you know, if you're looking for something, you got to go to this guy. You need an insurance, something, go to Ron, because Ron from Select Burial Insurance is going to do right by you. Okay, so this is the graded and the modified burial insurance. Okay, and then the third tier, individuals who have a more serious medical profile will have an option to get insurance for their burial needs, for their final expense needs, but just understand that this is the most expensive out of the three, right? This is more expensive than the tier 2, okay? And it's simple. It's because the insurance company is going to be taking a greater risk on you. And however, but as the name defines it, okay, it is guaranteed. So you are guaranteed to get approved, okay? How much you're going to be paying or how much you're going to get is going to be up to your situation, okay? You may have someone who wants $25,000, okay, but they don't want to pay the amount it's going to cost on a guaranteed issue to get $25,000. So for that person's going to say, okay, my budget is X. My budget is, $100. What can I get with $100? Okay, well, with your profile, for $100, we can get you $15,000. Okay, because you are guaranteed to get insurance, but how much that insurance is going to cost is going to be up to the insurance company. Okay, and if you wanted that $25, you can get it. It's just going to cost you $200. For $100, you can get the $15,000. I'm just using this as an example. I'm not quoting a number. Trying to be very careful because I don't want. I'm just giving you a kind of an example as a reference. But similar to graded, as we discussed, and the modified insurance waiting period, you have that here too. So even once you get guaranteed issue, but you still do have to wait. And we can get you that policy day one. When we're on the phone call, we could take care of that for you. Again, and depending on the insurance company, some insurance companies, will tell us we have to wait till tomorrow or wait till the first business day. But in most cases, we're able to get individuals a policy in place, by the end of the conversation that we're having with them. But again, similar to the graded and modified, right? The policy has two sides to it. It's accidental death or non-accidental death. And if something happens day one of your policy, right after you leave, there was some sort of accident, right? You went to went somewhere and some big tragedy happened and you no longer were on this earth, the insurance company would pay the full value of the policy that you got. But in order to get that policy at similar to modified and graded, on the other side of the non-accidental, you'd have to wait the 2 years. There's a 2-year waiting period, and some there are 3, but usually it's 2. But again, you don't lose anything because even if something happened to you year 1 or 2, your family, your beneficiaries would get the premium plus some percentage back. So that is where we're at, and we reviewed the 3 different types of the 3 different types of burial insurance level. There's modified / graded, and then there's guaranteed issue. And as we discussed in the beginning, each one of those types are tied to a different type of consumer, and that consumer has a unique health profile. So that is what that comes to. And again, this is Ron from Select Burial Insurance. Looking forward to you could reach out to us with any questions. You can go on our website, selectburialinsurance.com, and learn a little bit more about what we do. You can try to get a quote. We can give you an idea of what things will be. We'll follow up with you. And again, we'll go through what is your profile, what are you looking to accomplish, and then we can determine what programs we have that can help you. And or you can call us at 888-324-5494. Again, even if you don't call us, we gave you a really nice added value here with the education, and that is really our purpose here. So thank you for spending some time with us, and stay safe.